Where can you find videos of the best players in the world in their entirety and without commercials? accustats.com. How about 8-ball, 9-ball, straight pool, 1 pocket, and 3 cushion billiards? accustats.com. Only one place has it all. Check out our complete catalog on the net, 24 hours a day. Where do you ask? accustats.com.
Accu-Stats Video Productions presents from Chesapeake, Virginia, the 2000 U.S. Open 9-Ball Championships. Along with Mark Wilson, I'm Bill Incardona. Mark, what we have in front of us now, I figure, I know you do too, for it to be a very close, sharply contested match by both players. Mika Immonen and Larry Nevel.
Larry Nevel, offensive juggernaut out of the state of Wisconsin, and he's had a virtual stranglehold on all pool tournaments in Wisconsin. And I'm totally excited to watch this match. It's a couple guys that a lot of people maybe haven't heard of and aren't aware of what kind of high-powered 9-ball they play.
Well, I think the lesser-known player is Nevel. As we all know, without doubt, as we all know, Mika Immonen finished third in the U.S. PCA Championship, 9-Ball Championships in Las Vegas. And he just finished third in the World 8-Ball Championships as well in Las Vegas. He's been finishing quite high and regularly in the
certainly has. He hasn't been blasted out of any tournaments, and the few matches that he's lost has been to top quality talent, and they've been very close matches. So he's at the top of his game. Nevel set the break here in the first rack, and that's probably his best stroke, although he possesses a firepower stroke for the regular shots as well.
And we'll watch as he opens up the balls. Notice the power and notice the control of the cue ball.
He took just a little bit off that opening break just to make sure he didn't scratch. You can see how square he hit them, and he's moved the bulk of the rack to the opposite end of the table, but wasn't rewarded with the ball.
And it's not often that you see 8 out of the 9 balls at the other end of the table, which we see now, but obviously nothing went down. Immonen, very composed player for a young player.
And I think that is something that he's going to have to maintain to win this match. I don't think he can get into a wild shootout with Larry. I think he played a smart shot here.
I was talking with Mark earlier before the match began, and I said to him, I don't know, I think that Immonen should be the favorite in this match. And contrary to what I believe, Mark disagreed with me, saying that Nevel was the one that he figured would be the favorite in this match, because of his ability, to sustain a big offense, which he has. He has a big break. He can make any shot, and it's going to take a heck of a good player to defeat him. One that can put together a lot of racks. Obviously, you don't think that Immonen can put together a lot of racks?
Well, I don't think that's the case. I'm just saying that it's more likely that Nevel dominates the match than Mika, and if Nevel gets into trouble, it's because he possesses this offensive arsenal, this big stroke that can shoot his way out of many different places. And sometimes he relies a little bit much on that and lets the cue ball roam a little bit free, and it does get him into trouble.
But if the dice are passing, forget about it,
That's right. Now, Mika is more of a strategic, he's got a little bit more of the intangibles, I would say. Maybe he's going to be a little steadier under pressure, and he's tournament tested and toughened and a good shot maker. He doesn't beat himself often. But conversely, he doesn't create a lot of offensive opportunities either. He just kind of takes what he gets and makes the most of every shot.
Now, I do agree with what you just said, your assessment of this. But one thing, you said he may be a little bit better prepared for the pressure of the match. Maybe not so, because as you mentioned, Larry Nevel has played in a lot of tournaments in the Wisconsin area. And when you're tournament tough, that says a lot. Even though you're playing in a major tournament, it says a lot about your ability to focus in tournament play. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Nevel do well in this match because of his ability to stay focused in tournament play.
Well, and stay focused under the lights of the Accustat cameras.
Well, that's another thing. This is his first time he's been under the lights of the Accustat camera. And you know, if history has anything to say about this, whenever a player is under the lights of the Accustats camera for the first time, he normally doesn't do well. And we'll see if that trend continues.
I don't think Mika fell on the 6th ball just the way he had intended, and he's going to have to come up with a little bit tougher shot than perhaps initially anticipated. He hit the object ball just a little bit too full into the pocket and nearly followed the cue ball in behind the 5 ball.
And this shot definitely demands a very accurate hit, and it looks like he wasn't able to hit it as accurately as he needed to.
And this is the kind of start that Larry needs. He doesn't want to fall behind in the match. If Larry's guilty of anything, it's sometimes he tries to win too many racks in one stroke of the cue. He tries to recapture the lead if he gets a few games behind, and sometimes he kind of digs himself a deeper hole trying to do too much.
Very nice stroke for the first shot.
Yeah, that was kind of one of those in-between strokes. You can't really let it out, and it's just kind of what we call a half stroke there.
Type of a stroke that we're not totally unfamiliar with, but it's not one that we shoot that often. But nevertheless, he handled it quite well. This is rack number 1, Nevel at the table, and it looks like he's going to take the early lead in the match, Mark.
And I look for him to use a little bit bigger break this second time around. He didn't get real good results. And these tables are not easy to break on. They have fairly small pockets, as we're accustomed here at the U.S. Open.
And it's Nevel jumping out of the gate, going to the front, 1-0. And we'll take a look at his break in rack number 2 and see if Mark knows what he's talking about. But very quickly, the score is right on our monitor. As you can see it on your TV, Nevel is 1, Immonen 0. Game number 2 coming up.
You know, Larry has a power stroke that Mike Massey would be envious of, and mere mortals would be in denial about just exactly how much draw that he can obtain. And then he couples that with shot-making skills that are beyond the average human being.
I think it was about 5 or so years ago that Larry Nevel was really unknown by anyone around here. I knew him because I was living in Chicago at the time, and he's from Wisconsin. So he frequented Chicago at times, and we used to watch him draw the cue ball. And at that time, I realized that he could draw the cue ball better than anyone that I've ever seen draw the cue ball.
Absolutely.
But now a lot of people are aware of it. In the meantime, that's the second time he's broken the balls, and it's come up dry. Immonen steps to the table. It looks like all the balls are positioned quite nicely, with the exception possibly of the 2. The 9 may block the pocket.
And Mika Immonen was the 2000 Turning Stone champion, as we saw on the monitor.
Notice the position of the 9. It may block the pocket. Or the 2, we'll find out. If it doesn't block the pocket, notice where the 3 is, close to the side pocket, the 4 adjacent to the 3, 5 across table, 6 in front of the side. Looks like it's almost a throw-me-in out. All he needs to do is stay focused and make sure he doesn't lose that concentration that he needs.
Yeah, I don't foresee any problems here.
This is a type of a rack you would love to step to the table with, particularly if you're trailing in a match. It's something that can get you back on track. This is game number 2.
And this is just the type of rack that Immonen very seldom makes a mistake on, and Larry would be vulnerable making a mistake. I'm not saying that he would, but I'm just saying in the past, these are the kind of things Larry might shoot his way out of something that nobody else would even attempt, and then have a routine run out and maybe mentally let up his focus just a hair and get out of line and end up having to bank something and miss.
So of the two players, you would think that Larry would be the more careless of the two.
Absolutely, yeah.
Mika, on the other hand, a little more deliberate in his style of play. Looks like he's going to pocket the 9 for game number 2, tying up the match 1 game apiece.
Now, Mika has an interesting break. He uses more preliminary practice swings than anybody I've ever seen, and there's never a pause. It's finally kind of a build-up to a crescendo, and there's not any kind of a structure to it. There's never a certain amount of preliminary strokes that he uses. Sometimes it's 17, sometimes 30. We've counted them before, and it's quite amusing, but he does tend to hit the rack very squarely and get the maximum out of his break.
And obviously that's what his intentions are by picking all those preliminary strokes, because he's trying to prepare himself to break the balls, and realizing how important the break is in playing 9-ball. He wants to make sure that he hits the 1 ball squarely. And I think a lot of players out there should make a note of that, because the break is such an important shot in the game. Pocketing the 9 on the break, and it looks like it, he's not going to scratch. Pocketing the 9 on the break, and now he leads in the match 2 games to 1.
And he even exhibited a pause there right before he stroked, which most of the players use, but in the past I've seen him go without the pause. The pause kind of sets up your timing and allows you one last check to make sure you're deathly accurate on the head of the head ball in the rack.
Buddy Hall pauses a lot before he shoots.
Yeah, a lot of times his is on the end of his backswing as opposed to right with the tip at the cue ball.
Let's count the strokes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, I'm out of breath, 20.
The 9 was headed again.
Once again. And I was going to make mention of that, is that on this featured table, the 9-ball seems to be going toward that corner pocket with some regularity, and I don't know if that's good or bad. I don't think it's very good, Mark. I mean, why does that happen? Can you explain that? It
has to do with the way the balls settle and the direction they're being struck, and they tend to disassemble in a similar fashion when they're hit the same way. And a lot of times, a match earlier last night, I saw Efren Reyes pocket the 9 several times on the break, as well as hang it up and get combinations, fairly cheap combinations. Now, Larry played an interesting stroke shot, and looks like he's going to become rewarded.
Yes, he has. It looks like the cue ball has gone down table far enough and enough to the right of the 2 ball for him to be able to pocket the 2. But, of course, he's going to have to do it with his left hand. Now, is he ambidextrous? No, he can reach it comfortably.
And, he created a path there that most players would have never attempted by using a lot of inside spin. And it was a very dangerous. He threaded the needle on several balls and then had to have perfect speed to fall in such a way that he could even make the ball from that angle. And that's what I mean by creating offense. Larry's very good at that. Stayed down and steady, and now he's got the rack in a very manageable fashion here.
Center of the table with the cue ball would be the optimum position. Let's take a look and see what he does with it. Well, that's going to work out well.
Larry plays out of a room in Beloit, Wisconsin. That's his hometown. And that room has spawned many great players to the extent of Jeff Carter is perhaps the most famous pool player out of that room. I know you're familiar with Jeff. And then there's another guy there that actually played right with Jeff. His name was John Brannon. They called him Rebel. And this guy'd run 200-300 balls sometimes playing a straight pool.
Oh, that's really incredible.
And
I've never heard of him. That's why it's incredible.
Oh. The guy can really play. I can remember lots of times seeing him just to whoop up on Jeff, and Jeff would be infuriated. And
really?
Brandon wouldn't gamble, but boy, could he play. And Larry's, his high end has not been reached yet, and there's a real good likelihood he's going to be the best player out of Beloit, Wisconsin. When do you think the peak years for a pool player's performance is, Bill?
Well, after he pockets the 9 here, he'll then tie up the match 2 games apiece, and then we'll talk about it. Okay, the match is tied up at 2 games apiece. Well, from my experience of watching players, I think that their best years are probably right around 30 years of age.
30 years of age?
Yeah.
I was thinking it might be just a little bit older, and the reason I say that is that there's so many little finesse and nuances that come into this that I think your peak years are a little older than they would be for other sports that are a little more purely physical by nature, where this is a little more cerebral.
Yeah, well, that's true.
game.
That's true. But 30 years is old in sports.
Sure.
You know, and I think that 30 years is about the peak age. And I think you're going to see that more often now because of all we have more players playing the game now than we did years ago. And it's easier to learn the game and to understand the importance of different strokes and things in the games. So you learn that at an earlier age, and then when you're 30, I think you're at your peak. You'll be able to play your best pool then.
Here on Larry's break, he let up a little bit and tried to do it just with his arm and ended up hitting downward on the cue ball a little bit and off to the side. Committed a foul, a scratch in the side. And I know that's got to be very dissatisfying to him to have the table breaking tough and then him not doing well from the break, because that pretty much sets up his whole game.
If we can, Jules, can we get a close-up of the 4-ball in relation to the side pocket just to see how closely that 4-ball is to the point of the side pocket? Because the 4-ball is the treble ball in this rack, but the 5-ball is positioned quite nicely adjacent cross table to the 4. So if he's able to attain a straight-in shot on the 4, all he need to do is stop the ball for the 5. Okay, there it is there. He only looks like he has about a quarter of an inch away from that point, so therefore I do believe he can play position for the upper left-hand corner. He's going to have to get close to that side rail. And it looks like if he's able to attain that type of an angle on the 4, the rest of the rack, he struck out a little hard. He may have lost his market altogether on pocketing the 4.
He can make the 4, I can see from my vantage point, but it's quite a bit tougher shot than he would have liked. This is the kind of shot that's very easy to roll out away from the rail. Whether you hit it too thick or too thin, either way, it always rolls away. So
it's rolling away exactly the way you described it.
Well, that's the only way you can miss it. It has to go away. If it goes down the rail, it's in. But when you get that the thinner angle on that than what he really had hoped for,
right?
It
demands more of an accurate hit.
Oh, it magnifies the difficulty quite a bit there. It's exponential. And Larry's offered a real good opportunity, and after that scratch from the break, this has just got to be like a reprieve from the warden here. Get back at the table of this rack.
Now there's what you alluded to a little earlier in the telecast about his carelessness. I think he allowed the cue ball to get away from him slightly here. Now he's going to have to travel down the table and back up toward the 7.
Now he's going to have to make a pretty good shot here on these snug little pockets. But straight shooting is what he's all about, and he absolutely has no fear whatsoever of attacking these type shots. Nice speed.
Center of the pocket. But 9-ball is a game of percentages like many other games are. And the more often you find yourself further away from the object ball than you should be, the more often you're going to find yourself missing that shot. Therefore, it's still a game of percentages, and being careless playing 9-ball, will hurt you in the long run. This time it didn't. Nevel now takes the lead 3-2, and he is an excellent shot maker.
Oh, straight shooting is what he's all about. This big offensive arsenal that he brings to the table. It's about like a, what do they call him, M1 Abrams tank coming through. When he gets on a roll, I've seen him put together packages of 3, 4, 5 racks on many great players and have them completely ambushed before they even hardly get their cue together.
And when I asked Mark before the match began who he liked in the match, he told me he liked Nevel. He didn't think that Immonen could stay with him. I was really surprised to hear him say that because Mark has played both players, particularly Nevel, quite a few times. And I have to respect Mark's opinion on that because he's a very bright man, as you can see, and he really knows a lot about the game. So once again, I have to respect what you have to say about Nevel's game.
And I certainly don't mean to put Mika's game down. He's a tremendous player, and we discussed that at the beginning of the tape. But if both players were to play their high-end game, Larry's got a little bigger high-end than Mika, or maybe even many of the names that are household names in this sport.
Which will be
your Buddy Halls, your Jim Rimpeys. And I wouldn't say higher than Earl Strickland's, but he's got that type of arsenal that can produce results of that nature. And you can see the break. He got into the break a little better that time. He got a little body motion with it, hit him real square.
And once again, notice the position of all the balls at the other end of the table, like they were the last time he broke the balls. And that means that he's putting a lot of power into the break. He's moving balls down the other end of the table, and he's moving all of them.
And this is the type of thing that sets up those packages I was talking about. It's not. Sometimes he gets 2 or 3 opportunities that are virtual gimmies for most players that are playing well.
And it doesn't seem quite fair to a lot of us that
Absolutely.
he can do this, and we don't have the ability to do this. It doesn't seem fair.
Yeah, he generates the power pretty freely, and he governs it. He rations it out at the right time. I hope before the match is over with, and he likes to do this. He'll come with a big stroke when he needs to, and sometimes maybe to his own detriment, but he'll give it a go, and it's a real crowd-pleasing shot when he executes it. Well, he used good judgment there. He took the conservative path.
Was there another one?
Well, he could show you a couple of that you don't
Yeah,
routinely
right,
see, I will
right.
tell you.
I didn't know that was there. This is rack number 6. Nevel leads in the match 3-2 at this point, looking to extend it.
Really, the only thing that Mika's done wrong is that he just fell a little bit speed-wise, a little bit off the 4-ball, and the ball drifted out from the pocket, and it's cost him a couple games there, and Nevel looking to extend that lead with his big break.
Which he's done, 4-2 in favor of Nevel. This is rack number 7 coming up, and if he continues to break the balls as well as he has in the last couple of racks, you know, it could be a very, very long evening for Immonen and a very short one for us up here.
You know, it makes so much difference, momentum, and Larry is a big momentum player. He likes to play quick, and he likes to get the thing done. And he doesn't spend a lot of time studying the layout of the balls. He gets in there and starts putting them in the pockets, and then later into the rack, then he decides what he's got to do. And if he has to come up with a big stroke or a bank shot, he's capable of producing that.
Once again, he breaks them with a lot of power. Look at all the balls are moving up toward the other end of the table, pocketing 2 balls on the break that particular time, but he hasn't come up with a shot.
Well, I would. He's looking at the 1 ball to see if it passes, and for sure it's tight. And now he's looking at the possible carom
On the 2 ball?
On the 2 ball, or he might play a safety or a bank shot.
He played the
Played
carom.
the 2.
Now he needs to control the 1 ball. Once you set out, you know, once he decided to play the carom on the 2, then he should have put more importance in controlling the 1 ball. Looks like he's going to play some sort of a safety here, which he's done quite nicely, repositioning the cue ball behind the 9 and the 3, and the 1 ball at the other end of the table, not allowing Immonen to see the 1. Now he has to walk to the table with not a shot, and not only doesn't he have a shot, but he has to kick.
And he used good judgment about the safety. That was not the time to go wide open offense.
No, I agree, because it was a low percentage shot, and the bank was, and you still had to play position on the 3, and hitting with that speed, if you miss it, you're going to sell out the shot on the 1.
And Mika would like to get to just past the side pocket, and I'm not just sure that it's readily available. You may have to use some English to get the ball to take the right path once it gets past the side pocket. And he landed on it, hit the bottom edge of it. The speed that he used wasn't really conducive to getting separation between the cue ball and the 1 ball, even though he may end up leaving him difficult. It would be an easy return safety if he didn't end up like this with a good shot.
So had you been Immonen, you would have hit that shot with a little more velocity then.
Well, if it was available, he might have had to use that speed to get the angle to expand enough to be able to contact the 1 ball. But I might have chosen a opposite path to get to the 1 ball had it been that way.
If he had the ability to hit it with a little more velocity, he should have then. Obviously he should have, because we can see the results wasn't that good. Nevel back at the table. Definitely in command of this match. 4-2. And it looks like the balls are positioned quite nicely.
You know, Immonen's shot was something that Efren Reyes very seldom ever makes a mistake upon. And he might have chose to go the other way just so he could have the capacity to hit a little harder, despite the fact that hitting the 1 ball is a little more difficult going the other angle.
Right.
Just to get some separation, and maybe that was a good time to gamble.
Definitely a fair trade-off.
Right.
Rack number 7 looks like it's going to go to Nevel, as rack number 6 and 5 did. And he's going to take a more commanding lead in this game, in this match, 5-2.
Earlier today, Larry and I were practicing together over at the pool room, and we were playing kind of a sociable pool where if it was something available, we didn't play safe. We didn't play the most conservative type game, and watching him open up the stroke and make some shots, and he got through a couple racks there that there was a skip jump shot and then have to muscle 2 more balls in and then fire in 2 long stop shots off the back rail. Really impressive.
Well, he seems to be performing quite well in this match. The U.S. Open 9-Ball Championships, one of the most prestigious, if not the most prestigious tournament on the tour.
Watch how square he hits these. He got a good one.
300 players showed up to play in this event. This tournament becomes more difficult to win each and every year because of the popularity of the tournament, and it just attracts all the players.
Well, it has worldwide popularity. We have maybe 25, 30 players from Japan alone, not counting the European countries and the other Asian communities that send players over here, as well as Canada and South America. Immonen's played it safe, and he left the edge of the 1 ball sticking out, and that certainly gives Larry a good decision to make here. He can either thin it and play safe, or he can go ahead and play offense. Because the 2 ball doesn't go, I don't think he's going to play offense here. But
I don't like Nevel's chances in this rack because he's confronted with a very difficult shot with really not much of a safety possibility with it. Immonen now at the table, and he's trailing 5-2. He's going to have to make good with this opportunity here.
Yeah, he really needs to reestablish himself in this match, and this would be a good opportunity to do it. You know, he tried to do too much with the shot as far as retaining control of the cue ball. And
he tried to slow up the cue ball by hitting the 1 ball thickly, and that's exactly why he missed the 1 ball. He could have pocketed the 1 ball good 99% of the time if he wanted to just pocket the 1, but he wanted to slow up the cue ball, and a good way to slow up the cue ball was hit the object ball a little more thicker, and that's what he did. But that time he hit it too thick, and he wasn't able to put down the 1.
Now, Larry liked to have the cue ball out just a little bit further and play the 3-9 combination. I don't know that it lays in such a way that he'll be able to do that. He's drifted down to play the 3 on the side.
Excellent speed of the cue ball, notice.
And good judgment. He didn't try to muscle that in there.
And he's going to want to keep some sort of an angle on the 4.
He's just a little off angle on the 3 to really to be ideal here. Should pocket the ball freely, but getting the right angle on the 4 ball next is a little more difficult.
Notice the 5 ball adjacent to the 4 cross table, that is. He's going to have to reposition the cue ball cross table. It's not going to be easy because he's got an awkward angle on the 4. Hit it quite cleanly.
And didn't try to overdo it that time. Kind of settled for what the table would give him, being that pocketing the ball was challenging enough without trying to put the big stroke on there as well.
And at the same time realizing his shot-making ability, figuring that he could make a little more difficult shot. And he didn't want to sacrifice the accuracy of the shot by hitting it too hard, figuring that he'll come to the table and make a little more difficult shot on the 5 if necessary, and that's what he's done.
Now, will he come all the way across for the corner or side pocket here? That's what I
like coming across for the side pocket, hitting at the 2-rail speed. 1 rail, 2 rail speed, coming for the side pocket. He's falling a little short of the mark here, Mark. That's pretty. Anyways, unless the corner pocket is open, and then he's going to have to cut it back into the corner pocket.
And bring the cue ball around 3 rails.
Exactly. Playing the 8 in the same pocket. Well, look, I would have played the 8 in the same pocket, but obviously he didn't have the angle to comfortably play position for the 8 in the same lower right-hand corner, electing to go around the table with 3 cushions, which demanded much more control of the cue ball, both in accuracy, speed and accuracy.
Now he's elevated here, and I'm not sure if he's jacked up to bank or to cut it into the corner. He's cutting in the corner, and he's become very fortunate with the leave. It's hanging in the pocket, but the 9 ball blocks it from a direct route for Mika to pocket the ball.
But the 9 ball may aid Mika in this instance here too, because after playing safe off of the 8, which he's going to have to go rail first, the 9 ball may be an ally for him in snookering Nevel when he gets back to the table. I like hitting the long cushion, using a low ball, killing the action of the cue ball somewhere around that corner pocket. Most likely, when Nevel gets back to the table, he won't have a shot if he executes this shot. Properly.
And this is a shot that one-pocket players are familiar with because in a position like this they encounter so frequently. 9-ball players don't use it quite as often, although it does come up.
He wants to hit, that's about where he wants to hit. He wants to hit the side of the 8-ball with a low ball, which will really kill the action on the cue ball. If he hits too far on top of the 8-ball, he's going to end up leaving some sort of a shot because he won't utilize the position of the 9 if he does that.
And okay. He's really going to have to dig down and hit extreme low.
Now we have 2 shots. We have the full table, and we also have the he hit it really well, but unfortunately the 8-ball ended up in front of the upper right-hand corner pocket. Quite a bit of distance, Mark, in between the 8-ball and the cue ball here.
Distance isn't the issue with this kid, and it's kind of unfortunate because he did create distance, and that's just what you would like to do. If it just didn't land in front of the pocket, that would be quite a problem for any player. But distance by itself is not a big problem for Larry.
Obviously not.
He enjoys that. For him, it's kind of the joy of pure shooting is his game.
It doesn't look like things are working out well for Immonen at this point. Trailing in the match 6-2, I thought that he deserved a better fate than what he got in the last rack after Nevel missing the 8-ball, really not leaving Immonen much of an offensive shot, none at all, matter of fact. And Immonen steps to the table and plays a safety, hitting it reasonably well, but the 8-ball didn't cooperate, ending up in front of the upper right-hand corner. Nevel leads in the match 6-2. Quite a big hole now Immonen's in. I don't know if he can dig his way out of it.
Well, pool is not a kind mistress, and it doesn't have to be equitable or fair. You can hit good balls, and your opponent can make a host of mistakes, and you can be tied. So it's
that's true. It's happened to me so much.
It's happened to everybody at one time or another. But like you were saying earlier, playing the percentages, keeping the percentages in your favor long term, that's what dictates the outcome of these matches, and that's also largely responsible for Immonen's high quality finishes that he's had over the past year.
Yeah, finally some justice, but unfortunately it doesn't happen every match. But in the long run, it will show, no question about it. If you can just stay focused and play the game that.
Here comes the big break.
Well, he didn't hit the 1-ball squarely that time, as he had the last several times he's broken the balls. And the cue ball went to the side cushion, which is an indication that he didn't hit the 1-ball squarely,
right.
And it ended up scratching in the upper right-hand corner.
And the bulk of the balls did not move as far either because of the off-center hit. A lot of the power was wasted.
Let's take a look at the position of the balls on the table. Notice the 4-ball here, problem ball. Yeah, he can position the cue ball in hand on the 1. He's got to play position for the 2, probably somewhere around here for the 2. Oh, excuse me, the 1's off the table. The 2-ball right there, the 3-ball is over here. The 4-ball here. Does he gamble and play 1 cushion into it, or does he play position and take a thin cut on the 4? So therefore, he has a lot of to think about right here in his decision.
If you take the position that's available without going into him, getting to the 5 from the 4 could be a little bit of a problem, depending upon how you fall on that cut.
He would like to. What he would like to do is he would like to split these balls here, hitting the 6 first and then hitting the 4.
I don't think he'll play that. I think he's going to be more conservative and go for the center of the table, about where his bridge hand is now.
Oh, I don't know about that. Now, once again, he shot the shot with the incorrect speed, like he did when he played position for the 4 at the other end of the table. And
if he has to kick for the 4, if he can't hit the 4 cleanly to play safe, he's in a lot of trouble this rack. I'm not sure that he can see enough or see the edge of the 4. And now
he can see the 4. I believe he can reposition the cue ball back up table.
And there's a chance to escape out of this. He played the bank shot. Get that awful nice.
Very nicely executed. And if you notice, if he would have missed that ball, the wall of balls with the 7, 8, and 9 would have blocked the shot for the 4 for Nevel if he would have missed it. But obviously he didn't miss it. He's at the table. He's looking at a 4-game deficit here, 6-2. So he really can't afford to blunder.
Needs to pocket cleanly here from long range. Hit it with a nice speed. And he's got to be feeling a lot better now. This rack was certainly in doubt when he had to create that bank shot on the 4-ball.
Playing position for the 8 in the lower left-hand corner pocket. He can draw back for the side quite nicely and comfortably. This is rack number 9. Immonen trails in the match 6 games to 2, and he narrows the gap to 6 games to 3.
And now it's essential for Mika to get his break going here and create a little bit of offense without having the gunfight with Larry rack after rack. Something I'm sure he's fully aware of, and you hate to get into a safety battle or something when you're trailing in the match, because it just makes the racks crawl along for so much time, and against this quality of competition, if you battle them to near standstill 50-50, that will not win this match.
I think 9 ball is a type of a game, Mark, that you really can't. You have the game dictates to you. You don't dictate to the game. If the rack when the rack is broken, how the ball's laid will dictate how you should play that rack. So therefore, you can't say, well, I'm going to play a safety game this game and then make it a little more difficult for Nevel to win this game. Whatever the balls say, that's how you handle them.
Well, we totally agree on that. Mika pocketed the 6-ball on the break. Picked up a pretty good shot on the 1. Position is not easy for the 2-ball, however, because he has to bridge over the 4-ball. He's shooting the ball down the rail, which is essentially just a half of a pocket.
Okay, let's take a look at the 2-ball. The 2-ball is by the foot spot right here. He could draw the ball back in between. Now, that's very risky to do that.
How about glancing off the exterior of the ball? He's following.
Okay, that was a much better shot.
He had enough of an angle to create a little bit of an angle there.
If he had the ability to do that, there was no question that was definitely the right choice. Notice position of the 3 adjacent to the 8 next to the left-hand side pocket.
No, the 3 plainly goes, or he wouldn't have played position in this fashion.
And it was imperative for him to attain the angle that he did on the 3 so he can stop nicely for the 4. You know, he's going to have to go back a little bit here, I think. He's going to have to go back because of the presence of the 8-ball. If he tries to go forward, he may nudge the 8, and he may even end up hooking himself. Looks like he's going to have to go back here and just run the risk of coming up with a little more difficult shot on the 4 than he wanted to. But nevertheless, it's a fair trade-off in this instance because he does have a shot on the 4. If he pockets the 4, the remaining balls on the table should play routinely.
Now he has to use topspin on this ball to take the side pocket out of play, doesn't he? Yeah, topspin. So now he has to settle for a little longer shot than maybe what he would have ideally liked. He's got a nice rhythm going here, and I think he feels very confident about this shot. Pocketed it nicely, picked up a good angle on the 7, and now it's just straight draw back out to the middle of the table and play the 8 into the side pocket, I believe. And it looks like he's going to be able to punch it down to the end rail. And he's nearly ready to collect his 4th game of this set, making the score 6 games for Nevel and 4 for Immonen. And just what he needed to have happen here, collect the game off the break, get his offense untracked. There you see the score on the monitor as we head into game 11.
Actually, that was a very difficult rack, which he worked his way through quite nicely after using good judgment on the 1 to the 2, the 3 to the 4, and then actually pocketing a very, well, not a very difficult shot, but a quite difficult shot on the 4. Controlling the cue ball nicely and running out the remaining balls. Narrowing the gap to 6 games to 4, and he's at the table preparing to break the balls in game number 11. Very nicely struck break there.
Yeah, you can see by the response of the cue ball indicates that he hit him very squarely.
Well, he didn't pocket a ball on the break, and notice the position of the balls at the other end of the table. He also hit the balls with a lot of force.
And by hitting him so squarely, all the force went out of the cue ball throughout the rack. There was nothing left on the cue ball.
Nevel trying to determine what he wants to do. Does he want to go after? I don't know if he can go after the one cross side, but I think that would be a.
Well, I think he's determining how he wants to play safe.
Yeah. I don't think he should go offensive here because it would be a mistake.
No, as offensive-minded as he is, I don't think he would choose to do that.
Very nicely thought out shot, repositioning the cue ball down this end of the table, executing the shot just about as perfectly as you could in terms of both speed and controlling the one ball.
Yeah, it looks like he's nearly assured himself a ball in hand.
Yeah, I don't
with
see
the 9 balls there.
Really don't see an accessible route to the one. You know, unless I don't even know if he can kick 3 cushions at the one. The 6 precludes him possibly from being able to do that, unless he can see the side of the one here.
Well, if he sees the side of the one, if he can hit that, he may scratch off the 9. So, well, he tried to play the 9 and the bank. It didn't appear that he had enough ball to hit to do that, but he clearly see he had more than enough.
Okay, now the 1 to the 2 is going to be a big shot for Nevel right here. Notice the position of the 2 in the 7. Now the 7 blocks off a lot of the area that he would like to end up with the cue ball. So because of the 7 being there, he had to redirect the cue ball in another route, trying to get position for the 2. And it looks like he's attained the shot on the 2 in the upper left-hand corner. And it also looks like the 3 will go on the side, the left-hand side.
Looked like he used a good judgment, too. Rather than try to be too cute, go ahead and be aggressive and go right at it. And if you nudge it, there's a real good chance you're going to fall well. Right. And even if you don't, you still have a real easy safety coming back. So.
Good. That's playing the percentages, by the way, and it was a very noteworthy point. And a good observation, by the way. And that's exactly what he tried to do. He went toward the 2, and if he happened to hit the 2, he figured to come up with some sort of a shot on the 2, whether it be an offensive shot or even a shot to play a good, reasonable safety with. And...
But now he's confronted himself with a real predicament here where he's going to have to be a shot maker of the first-class nature. He's going to have to jack up and roll the 4 in and then settle for a long straight-in shot on the 5. And he's slightly mishit it.
He certainly did, and he allowed the cue ball to get away from him, slightly playing position on the 4. Immonen back at the table. At one time in this match, he was trailing 6 games to 2. He's narrowed the gap to 6 games to 4, and he's got himself another opportunity to come within 1 game closer to the lead at 6 games to 5 if he can run the rack.
And this appears to be just a little bit tricky, even though it's a good opportunity. It's one of these kind of half strokes that he's going to have to hit to get the ideal circumstance with regard to position on the 5 ball.
I don't know about that shot. That was a little...
he attacked it with a full swing, and...
I thought if he had a finesse game, it should have came out at that time. But evidently, that's not the way he saw it. I don't know what he tried to do. Obviously, he didn't try to go into the 6. He tried to probably go to that side cushion and go 2 rails around the 8, possibly. But that didn't happen. Now he's confronted with a very difficult shot on the 5, which I've seen him shoot this shot in practice several times, and each time hitting it quite accurately.
He's looking at the side pocket. I don't know if that's easier than the corner pocket. I guess he feels like it is.
And it looks like he's going to thread the needle between the 7 and the 9 if he happens to pocket it in the side, which he's done nicely, repositioning the cue ball down this end of the table, 6 ball in front of the corner pocket.
And now he's reobtained the ideal circumstance to go ahead and win this game.
Now he wants to reposition the cue ball where he's standing, but that's not going to be as easy as it appears because of the position of the 8. He may hit it too thickly and go into the 8, so therefore he has to be mindful of that.
2 cushions. Just come off the rail so he can make a full bridge at it.
Well, that's excellent speed because now he can bridge comfortably away from the rail. He's close enough to the 7 to get an accurate hit, so therefore looks like he's done a fine job in his attempt to play position for the 7.
And he's making the most of each of these opportunities now that he's kind of reestablished himself into this match. oftentimes in pool, it ends up a situation you'd like to have ideal position, but it doesn't work out that way. You just have to put the round peg in the square hole sometimes to make this work out.
Right. And those who are best suited to doing that normally or usually end up winning the match. That's why you see guys like Reyes and Strickland and Varner and guys that have the ability to come with that difficult shot at a difficult time. Putting that round peg in that square hole,
and
or that round
that's the nature of pool
square.
right there. And you just got to be a shot maker. And it's kind of like old baseball adage where it looks like a line drive in the box score tomorrow. They don't know it was a Texas League flare that barely got in there or a seeing eye ground ball. Same thing in pool. You'd like to have ideal circumstances to run out, but oftentimes you just have to be a shot maker.
Oh, absolutely. You're going to have to show your ability to pocket balls sooner or later when you're playing a match. And if you don't have that ability, you're not going to. You just can't cut it. You're not going to win major tournaments.
No, you just can't hide that fact.
It seems quite unfair at times, but that's just the way it is. You got to have all the tools, and it's the players that have all the tools that end up with the lion's share. I think either of these players can definitely go on to win this tournament because they have the tools to win it. They're both great shot makers. They both have a lot of, power in their break. They can open the balls up well. Such an important shot.
Got a little bit of draw on the cue ball that time, and it didn't quite have the effect on the rack that some of his earlier breaks had. And these tables are breaking difficult. I've noticed a lot of players coming up dry after hitting them quite squarely with a lot of power.
Now, he has hit this hard enough to go around the 3. Because the 3 it was laying thinly enough for him not to be able to go around the 3. Fortunately, the 2 ball position near the lower right-hand corner didn't have to do much with the cue ball.
Well, he chose the conservative path where he knew he would get a shot, and he sure thought he was going to bump something there. And,
I didn't like the way he thought that out. He had a natural route in between the 5 and the 6 up for the 3.
I think it was a circumstance where he just didn't feel comfortable rolling that ball. Sometimes you get up on a ball and you just don't feel good, and he wanted to use a little more pace. But certainly didn't work out well for him. He's played a good safety here in return. And this is a circumstance that, despite the fact that Immonen can shoot directly at the 3 ball, sometimes you're better advised to go ahead and kick at this type of a shot and get some separation and give yourself a chance to make. A pure defensive maneuver here does not always assure you of winning the game. Even if you hit a pretty good shot, you may end up selling out the rack because the 3 ball comes over there by the 4, and the cue ball he's trying to tuck underneath the 5.
Well, I kind of agree with your assessment, but not on this particular shot. I think that he should try to reposition the cue ball behind the 5. The 3 may even hit the 7 here and stop the progress of the 3.
Well, I think you need to play to hit the 7 if that's the shot you're going to play. If you're going to play defense, I think you really need to make sure 3 hits the 7 ball here rather than try to go too thin.
But still, I think you have to hit it with the speed to reposition the cue ball behind the 5, and he has to make sure that he hits it with that speed. See, he's falling a little short of the mark right here, it looks like.
And if that's the case, Larry's got a real good kick opportunity on this that he can shoot with virtual impunity. A good chance to win, a good chance to get safe if it doesn't go in.
He can end up kicking the 3 and repositioning the cue ball behind the 4. He didn't hit it thickly enough to do that. But it doesn't look like he's left him any type of an offensive shot. Maybe he has. From my vantage point, it's kind of hard for me to tell. He may have a clearer shot at the pocket here. And by his body language, obviously, he does have a shot at the pocket. Now, what I like here, Mark, let's take a look at the telestrator. I like playing position on the 5 somewhere right here. Sending the cue ball here and into the 8, freeing up the 8, and then playing up the 6 in the side, possibly. Because the 8 and 9 seems to be a little bit of a problem, and it looks like he can deal with it from here. If he pockets the 5 and goes into the 9 and the 8, he has the 6 in the side, and he frees up the 8 from the 9 here.
He's got a little more distance here than maybe he would have liked for ideal control of the cue ball into the 8. But he certainly has your angle.
And he's quite undecided what he really wants to do.
Well, this is a circumstance that you want to be completely committed to your execution phase here, and it's easy to get caught up in a little bit in between and not make a good stroke if you do.
Absolutely.
I think that's why he stood back up. He wanted to make sure he was had thought clearly through it and was focused on what exactly he wanted to take on.
I think he complicated the situation even a little more than it was before he shot the shot, moving the 8-ball a little further away from the 9 and offline of that combination that he had on the 8 and 9. Now he has to do a little more in terms of pocketing the combination with the 8 if he opts to do that later on in the rack here. Let's take a look and see what he decides to do here. I mean, he's got a little bit of work in front of him here.
But he's fallen in the 6-ball pretty well, and if he comes out on the 7 nicely, I think that he feels good about the outcome of this rack nonetheless. The fact that he has to make a little harder shot on the combination. He might have hit this too soft.
He needs some speed here, and it looks like he's going to fall short of the mark here for sure.
It wasn't just purely that he hit it too soft, but he hit the heavy side of the pocket. He hit the object ball just a little bit heavy, and that his speed wasn't would have been precise had he hit the middle of the pocket. But now that he hit a little bit heavy, now he's
once again, that's a good point you brought up there. Once again, that all stems from his ability to hit balls accurately. Because if you hit the 6-ball accurately enough and get to the good thin hit that you anticipate getting, you can pick up the speed of the cue ball.
Right.
Well, he hit it thickly. He didn't pick up the speed that he anticipated in the cue ball, and he's found himself short of the mark.
Is this a wide open bank shot we're going to see? Win or lose? Yep.
And he's playing for the billiard on the 9. He likes his chances there. You can see that in his step. He likes the way, he executed the shot, and obviously he played position for the billiard, and it looks like it's a very viable shot here. He has to watch the player behind him.
As well as the 8-ball in front of him.
Yes.
Well, he hit it perfect.
Yes, he did. And all of a sudden, this match is tied up from being 6-2. It's now 6-6. And I mentioned that, it's the lead. He's dug himself into a hole he may not be able to dig out of. And 4 games later, it's tied up at 6 games apiece. I didn't think he would catch up this quickly if he did catch up, but he did, 6 games apiece.
And despite the fact that he's maybe made a couple little minor position errors along the way, he's recovered from them nicely by just being a shot maker. That particular rack, Larry mishit the kick shot just a little bit, hit a little bit thin, and left him straight in. And that was that opened the door just wide enough.
It's shots like that separate the real upper echelon player from the Nevels and
the other just great players.
Yeah, exactly. And that's exactly the way it is. You put it very well. The great players. It separates the superstars from the great players.
Even when he's changed his cue ball position a little bit.
It didn't break the balls as hard as he had been.
Nobody got the wing ball to fly right in. The 6-ball went down just immediately. And the cue ball was kissed down table a little bit. And he's got a long tester here on the 1-ball.
I don't know I was going to say, I don't know if it's advisable to shoot the 1, but what options does he have?
Well, there's not a lot of options, and there is a reward here. If he rolls this down there, it's possible to miss it and come out not just absolutely selling out. And if he makes it, rolling it, he's got a pretty reasonable shot on the 2 and a reasonable chance to go out from there.
So
right now, Immonen missed it the worst possible way, hit it close. Nevel's shooting at 850 on the Accu-Stats statistics right now, and Immonen was shooting a 900 going into that last miss, which was harder than a spot shot in my assessment.
No, well, he's come up a little short of the mark on the 2, but we'll be able to pocket the 2, but he's going to have to travel a little more with the cue ball than he wanted to.
And he hit a little heavy into the pocket. You notice it grazed the point on the far side, and it diminished some of the speed.
Again, it's so important to hit the shot with the accuracy that it demands, particularly when you have to do something with the cue ball.
Well, here's the big stroke shot that he'd like to billiard the cue ball right between the 4 and the 7 as he comes off 1 cushion after pocketing the 3 past the 9. Well, he played it conservatively.
It looks like he may have attained the position on the table to cut the 4 back into the upper left-hand corner.
Well, if that's the case, that's probably the shot. Yep. A little soft once again, maybe.
Yeah.
Just a little bit of a tester. I think that he's going to play soft over to the long rail so that he can play the 7 in the opposite corner from the 8 ball.
And that's the way I see it as well. And he hit it too hard.
But he hit it accurately.
Yes, he did. A lot to be said about hitting balls accurately, particularly the one you bump into.
And maybe that little extra dab of speed gave him the capacity to pocket the ball a little cleaner, a little freer, and feeling good. So
exactly,
be hard to criticize the judgment that he made.
And also realizing that he's going to hit it with the speed. If he did bump into the 7, he would have pushed it far enough away from the cue ball to come up with a shot.
He left himself on the rail, and then get another little roll shot here to make. A little harder than maybe most players would like to have. But no problem for the likes of Larry Nevel.
At that time.
He gobbles those up for lunch.
Now it's 7 for Nevel, 6 for Immonen, as we see on the screen. This is game number 14 coming up. This is going to be a very interesting finish to this match. I can confidently say that because of the two players. They're battlers. They're battlers. You know, Nevel taking the commanding 6-2 lead, and Immonen charging back, tying up 6 games apiece. So therefore, both players want to win. That's for sure.
Well, both players are very game. They brought their best games to the table, and we've been the recipients of a nice reward to get to watch this match. Once we get into the first or second round of this type of a tournament, any match that you see therein could easily be the final match. The quality of competition is so close.
Big break there, big break. I don't think he's pocketed a ball, but nevertheless, it was a big break, which has gone unrewarded.
Hit the balls square, cue ball stopped in the middle, the balls sifted around the table, but nothing would find the pocket. And that does not bode well for Larry's style of play. Not taking anything away from his style of play, but I just mean that he kind of predicates everything off that big break and the big offensive arsenal.
Will that frustrate him as a player?
Well, for sure. He's young, and he's used to beating guys where he kind of walks through them, no problem. And this is starting to look like it's going to come down to one of those gritty, fight for each ball type matches.
So therefore, you're saying that with his big break, he has more or less spoiled himself by feeling that he should come up with a shot after the break, and he should pocket a ball on the break, and he's not doing that.
Well, to put it into baseball terms, he's not used to manufacturing runs. You know, he's used to the 3-run homer, and we're not getting that with the way the table's breaking right now. Certainly not due to his break not being struck squarely.
Is he going to try to reposition the cue ball behind the 8 here, or what is he trying to do?
I think it's just a matter of make the 1. I don't think he
had
had the
shot.
luxury of. You're thinking he was trying to play.
Yeah,
second.
I didn't think he had a shot, but obviously he did.
Looks like he may be forced to use the bridge and perhaps use a little bit of inside spin to bring it up along the long rail there. Yeah,
And then he's going to have to elevate, shooting over the 5 and the 7 with the bridge. He's going to, as you can see, he's coming down a little bit on the cue ball. He can't level off on this shot, which make it a little more difficult for him to turn that cue ball.
Yeah, a lot more difficult. He's going to have to hit it downward, and then this has a chance to. Didn't use a whole lot of spin, but it looked like he's got enough of it.
Yeah, it worked out well for him. He does have a nice shot on the 3, and he has a nice angle on the 3 to comfortably get off that side cushion. The 4 ball adjacent to the 3, next to the 5.
And he's in
the balls
terrific
are
position to tie this match up.
Yeah, the balls are laying really nicely. No problems out there. 7-6 Nevel, but Immonen at the table with a real nice rack here. Well, got a little careless there. Now let's see what he's done. He doesn't seem to like what he's done, Mark.
If he's nearly perfectly straight in, he's really going to have to come up with a pretty good stroke now, as opposed to be able coast through the rack, he's going to have to fight. And it looks like he's going to have to follow all the way over to the long rail and then come back to the middle of the table to play the 6 ball in the corner pocket, which he'd hoped to play the 6 ball into the side pocket.
Well, that's positioned just about as perfectly as he could have asked for from that position.
Now he just wants to draw back a foot.
Yeah. I wouldn't even be surprised to see him stop it because, once you watch, he's drawing back a foot. Sometimes you lose a little accuracy when you draw the ball, but not that time. He can do anything with this
Well,
shot.
the reason to sacrifice the accuracy with using the draw is so that he doesn't have to use any inside spin to create this angle from longer range, which if he had a little thinner hit, he might have felt a little uncomfortable going just purely natural.
That's certainly not the position on the table I would have wanted to end up in right here. I mean, he's awkward right here. He looks like he's going to have to hit the 8 ball too thickly to go cross table and play position in the lower right-hand corner. This is going to be very, very close here. He's going to have to hit it with good speed, which he's done quite nicely. And it looked like he had a different type of an angle than the angle that I saw from my vantage point.
Well, you were accurate. He did get a little bit off of where he wanted to be, but the shot didn't lay tough enough to really charge him the penalty for getting on that wrong angle.
And as you can see on the monitor, after game 14, this match is tied up at 7 games apiece, and we're just going to play 4 out of 7 now to see who advances in the tournament.
And we're really getting our money's worth here. We're seeing a little bit of everything, some finesse, some power. We're seeing some shot making. We haven't seen a whole lot of defense, though. There hasn't been a whole lot of kicking and safety play in this match. It's been pretty much a wide-open offensive display.
Well, Nevel really never has trailed, unless he did Immonen win the first game of the match? I think it was. But since then, Nevel has never trailed in the match. I'm interested to see if he does, Immonen that is, manage to get to the lead, how Nevel will respond if given an opportunity.
Immonen now moved to the other side of the table for his break. He's taking one of these multitude of break strokes.
Watch the cue ball.
Drawing the cue ball back. But
it looks like it looks like he is going to come up with a shot on the one.
he's pocketed 2 balls. He hit them fairly squarely with just a little bit of draw once again.
And if you notice, the balls are spread quite nicely over the table, maybe with the exception of the 6-8 down the other end of the table. Now here's the 6 and the 8. These 2 balls down there. I don't think the 6 will pass the 8 into this corner pocket.
But let me assure you, the 6-8 is not an issue with his mindset right now. It's pocketing the 1 ball. The 1 ball is the challenge here. If he can make the 1 ball, he can manufacture the rest of the rack. Now the waitress has passed in front of him. Displeased him a little bit. He's going to come down and take a look. Gives her kind of an evil glance.
I think he's using a lot of energy, wasted energy in doing that, because that waitress has absolutely no idea why she's not supposed to walk in front of a shot. He should understand that and why frustrate himself with it.
That's right. That's right, but that may be a little bit of the maturing factor that you and I have already gone through, that they're just now earning
maybe
their
you
wins.
Have.
I'll be the elder statesman here.
How many times have we blundered only to blame it on some, other person that has absolutely no idea of why they did what they did, and it didn't look like he did a good job there. He may have
Could be a
pocketed
3-railer.
the 1.
Well, this is just the type of opportunity that Larry was hoping for after seeing the results of that break.
And you were right. He had all he could handle in pocketing the 1. That was a very difficult shot, considering the distance that he had to shoot the 1 from, and the distance the pocket was from the 1.
Larry needs to make a draw stroke here. He's executed that just perfect. He's better off if he has to make a big stroke than roll him around and stay on the angle.
No, he's more comfortable.
Now, the position of the 6 and the 8 is not going to be an issue, because I think Larry's going to try to pick up an angle where he can go between the 6 and the 8, or even around the 8 to play the 6 in the same corner he plays the 5.
Yeah, he's got an ideal angle now to go in between the 6 and the 8 with the cue ball. It looks like it may even lay natural here, which it looks like it has, and he's repositioned the cue ball perfectly for the 6. He wants to attain some type of an angle on the 8, and it doesn't matter which angle it is. It looks like it's so workable from where the position of the 8 is. He can do a number of things, and this is one of them. This is rack number 15. Nevel will then take the lead in this match, 8 games to 7 in a race to 11.
And he's looking forward to getting his break going here, I know. Larry's toweling off.
Nevel really the lesser-known player here. Doesn't have nearly the tournament experience as Immonen. Even though Immonen doesn't have all that much, he has a lot more than Nevel. But Nevel has played quite a bit in tournament play in local tournaments in the Wisconsin area, the Beloit area, Chicago area. So therefore, he is tournament tough in that regard, and it certainly has proven that it's.
And he's stacked up well with some
advantage.
formidable competition. So he's by no means a spring chicken or a kid at this. He chose to break from the other side of the table. He got a little top spin on the cue ball, but he did break and make the 4 ball. Looks like he's going to be forced to play a safety here, unless he chooses to go with an extremely difficult thin cut, elevated over the 9. I don't really look for him to try the cut, if that's even available.
And the safety isn't going to be that easy either, by the way.
No, he's going to have to move both balls, and that really maximizes the difficulty here, the opportunity for something to go awry. He may be just banking the 1 ball straight down the table and try to put the cue ball. No, he tried to move both balls, put the cue ball behind the 8 ball.
Right, and he wasn't able to do that, as you notice.
Looks like the 1 ball may have leaked out just enough that the 3's not an impediment either.
No, but it looks like he's got a clear shot at the 1. The remaining balls on the table.
You know, I think he'd have been better off to play like a 1-pocket bank where he just comes straight down the table with the 1 and leave the cue ball over here that last shot. But when I say over here, I should be using the telestrator. I mean over here and just bank the 1 ball down this way.
I don't even know if he had the ability to do that.
Well, it looked like it was available. I glanced at it. Now, if Immonen's speed is just a hair off, he's in trouble, but I guess it's fallen plenty good. And he appears to portray being just a little miffed at the circumstances of the way the balls and the waitresses have been carrying on here.
Yeah, he doesn't seem very happy about much of anything, does he? And he really should, because, it looks like he's going to be a great player. He seems to be a handsome guy, young. He's got a lot going for him, but he has to tell himself that.
Well, yeah, he needs to understand that for sure. Now, what type of an angle does he have here? I guess he'll just have to draw back a little bit. I don't think he can punch it all the way over to get straight in on the 7. Draw it back a little bit and settle for this angle.
Mm-hmm.
He would like to end up with the same position that he has right now on the 8. He'd like to get that cue ball right back to the middle of the table if he could.
Yeah, that would be ideal, and that's exactly what he's done. A little
Just so he doesn't
further
have to fight
from
it.
the 8 than what he wanted to end up.
But he has the nice angle that he won't lose too much speed on the hit if he banks the 8 ball. That's the only problem. Otherwise, the cue ball will fall perfect for the 9.
Nicely, it was very, very cleanly hit. Nicely struck ball.
We're going to have a
Once
tie
again.
match, yeah.
Once again, it's going to be tied up, this time at 8 games apiece, and now we'll play 2 out of 3 to see who advances in the tournament.
3 out of 5.
Excuse me, 3 out of 5. Yeah, very good. 3 out of 5. Your math is so much better than mine. 3 out of 5.
Well, Nick is walking around making some facial gestures to the crowd as if they understand what he means. I noticed that Mika's been getting a little bit of draw on the cue ball the last couple times he broke, and he needs to be aware of that he doesn't want to pull the cue ball all the way back down to that end rail. Should he make something and the 1 ball stay in the middle of the table, he's really got to come up with a tremendous opening shot to get the rack going.
Yeah, if you remember one rack, he not only drew the ball down the other end of the table, but it rebounded from the bottom cushion and went all the way back up table.
Right. Right.
To the foot end of the table.
When you swing hard, it's easy to slightly miss-hit the center of the cue ball. That's what you're really striving for. And just a little bit of draw when you swing that hard shows up as 2 table lengths of draw.
Yeah, a little bit of a mishit there.
He's aiming low. That's usually an indicator that the back elbow drops on the break. Got a little bit of draw that time, but he hit him good and square and with a lot of velocity. Pocketed the ball.
And he does have a bank cross side on the 1, and he may even have a shot in the side, but it's not going to be an easy one. Neither shot will be that easy to execute.
I don't look for him to play the ball straight into the side. If he plays an offensive shot, it'll be the bank. I'd be very surprised if he tries to roll this into the side.
Very small pocket.
And he's got kind of an awkward angle, and he's a little bit on the rail with the cube off of that, although he is examining it right now. Looks like he's wanting to play it that way.
Very small pocket.
There's a chance to come out safe if he rolls it up there and doesn't hit the point, rebounding it back the same direction it starts off from. And there is a reward if he makes it. Nice.
I don't know what he had in mind, Mark, other than just going after the pocket.
Now, he's a little fortunate. Not that he's left Larry long. He was aware of that, but he's left him over a ball. Long was not the big problem for Larry. He enjoys long. Elevated, nobody enjoys.
No, but Nevel is one of the players that I'd like to have shoot an elevated shot for me, because of his ability to shoot this type of a shot. He doesn't.
I don't think this is a good opportunity to play offense. I think he should be a little more conservative here, unless he makes it. No, and now he returns a golden opportunity. It wasn't easy to play safe from there either, but I think there was a little higher percentage to play safe. I think he just didn't want to lose the rack playing safe. I think he wanted, if he was going to lose, he wanted to go down shooting at the hole.
I really can't fault him for his way of thinking in that instance because of the difficulty in playing the safe. But, he's an excellent shot maker. He thought he had a reasonable chance to pocket the 1, even though he may have felt he was a dog,
That might have been his best chance.
Yeah, his best chance to win this particular game. And you really can't fault his way of thinking there. Oh, a little roughly hit, but nevertheless it found the pocket. Immonen at the table looking to gain the lead in this match once again. He didn't have it in the entire match with the exception of game number 1, which he took a 1-0 lead, but since then it's been all Nevel in the lead and Immonen trying to catch up. And now Immonen has a chance to take the lead in the match at the later stage of the match, 9-8, and this is where the lead it really is magnified when it's late in the match. While 1-game lead late in the match is really difficult to overcome, particularly around the 9 and 10 game area.
On the ball before this, he was just a little bit carefree about where the cue ball landed, and it landed in one of those awkward spots. Not that he can't make the 4, but getting down table wasn't real easy. Now he's fouled ahead, and now if he used power here, the 9 can be a little bit of a problem.
Unless he draws it, and if he draws it and slightly mishits it, he could go on the side. So therefore, there is problems regardless of which way he chooses to shoot this shot. He was able to avoid contacting the 9, following the ball, and it looks like he's ended up in a reasonable line on the 8. But
he used a little bit of inside spin, a little softer hit to create an angle down there. Had he struck that hard, he probably would have bumped into the 9. Really been a hazardous predicament to be in.
Well, I'm certainly sure he's glad that shot's over because he did have to apply a little bit of inside English on that shot, and that wasn't a gimme by any means.
And he now takes the lead.
9-8, and now Nevel, for the first time, other than 1-0, he was trailing in the match. It's the first time since then that he's fallen behind in the match. It's 9-8. A lot of pressure out there right now for both players, particularly Nevel, because he trails in the match 9-8. If he's able to get an opportunity at the table, kind of anxious or curious to see how he'll respond to it.
Well, Mika's shown some gritty determination to pull himself back into the match and then chisel through some racks here with some real adverse circumstances. And he's made the most of his opportunities.
Once again, that deliberate style in breaking the balls, and he struck the break very, very nicely, pocketing a ball in the break, but he hasn't come up with a shot on the on the next ball, which is the 2 ball.
The cue ball surrounded.
Yes, yeah.
He's even limited as to where he could push out to.
I don't really feel he has very many places to push. Matter of fact, he'd be hard pressed to find one.
This is the good news is that the 3 ball is difficult to play.
Exactly, that's a good observation there.
A lot of times in a circumstance like this, when you have to push out, you're just a decided underdog pushing out to these guys. And I generally look to tie something up, but
it's already tied up.
Well, not just that one, because these guys can get through one. I try to give them a couple obstacles, and we'll just play a long safety game. He's broke them so well, it's going to be difficult to tie anything up and achieve a rollout that would be favorable to him. So he may have to push out to a kick shot here, or maybe a long straight in on the end rail.
I wouldn't push to a kick. I wouldn't do that. Push to a shot where we really don't have the ability to attain a shot on the 3.
Well,
I don't particularly care for where he pushed. Now Nevel obviously is going to shoot this shot. He's going to draw the cue ball back, and if he pockets the 2, he's going to have some sort of a reasonable safety or even possible bank on the 3.
And pushing out here to mere mortal is okay, but with Larry, the type of stroke he possesses, he will snatch this cue ball back, no problem. He looks forward to these.
Yeah, and it's not a type of a shot that he should be under any pressure, because even if he misses it, he doesn't necessarily have to lose the game because of the position of the ball. So therefore, he's at the table, and that's exactly what he's done. He's drawn the cue ball back for a reasonable bank on the 3 or even a safety on the 3. So therefore, I didn't particularly care for where Immonen pushed, and it looks like it's going to hurt him.
It's going to be a straight safety.
There
Just stick the cue ball, and now it's that was a nearly fatal safety there for Larry. If Mika can get away without giving up ball in hand, that would be some sort of a victory here. But the speed that he's going to hit this at is not going to allow for much separation between the balls. So even if he does contact it, he's not looking to be the favorite to win this rack, whether he hits it or not. He's looking at the 3 rail route, and I don't like that at all.
I don't know. I don't even think he can hit it 3 rails.
He's going to have to mass A to create enough length to get down there. And the 4 is large, yes.
He's going to have to go
2 rails.
Yeah,
I think this is a 2 cushion, and when you're elevated like this and top the ball, it tends to skid long, and you got to assess the condition of the table in conjunction with the speed and the volume of spin. You're asking for a lot.
Yeah, and he only has a half a ball to hit, I think, if he chooses to go to 2 rail route, because the 4 blocks part of the path of that also. He's really got problems right here.
This is one of these. No matter how he goes about this, he's going to suffer a deficit, whether he hits it or not. I think maybe this is one of those times where you look to take a foul. You hate to do it,
but what are you going to do?
Well, you might move the 5 down past the 3. You might move the 6 on the end.
5.
Well, maybe you should just scramble him then. Yeah, maybe he can go 1 rail. I guess he looks like he can spin around the 4.
He might be able to do that.
Soft speed. Yeah. Well, that's absolutely as good as he could have hoped for.
Yeah. Even though he left him a shot, he doesn't have to.
He doesn't have to face ball in hand.
Right, and in playing position for the 4 is a little more of a problem for Nevel now than it would have been actually if he had ball in hand.
Yeah. It turned out for about the same as where ball in hand would have put him.
Just about.
But nonetheless, you still like to you feel a little strength coming out of that shot, make a nice hit. Larry'd like to draw back just a little bit so he can play the 6 in the same corner pocket the 5 goes in. Now he's going to follow ahead to get that angle.
He may have a pocket in the upper right-hand corner too. From our vantage point, sometimes it's difficult for us to determine whether or not certain pockets are even available.
Well, Larry's looking kind of like he wants to. Now he's going to look at that pocket.
Well, I think he should have looked at it before he did that.
Well, this might offer an opportunity to get out a big follow stroke here and come around 2 cushions. Looks like that's what he's going to do.
The child. I don't think he played it that way. But he certainly came out well. I don't know if he did or not.
Well, being he's at the table, we'll give him credit for by design. This match could be knotted up if he can clear off these last 3 balls. 9 games apiece is what he's looking to make the match. This looks like he's just going to punch it ahead a little bit with kind of one of those stun shots. Yep. Hit the middle of the pocket, no problem. And that's just what we're going to have. Now it's going to be 2 out of 3, Bill.
Yes, it is. It's going to be 2 out of 3, and the question I had was answered. He did respond well enough to the challenge, and he now tied up the match at 9 games apiece. And this has been really an interesting match. I mean, both players playing very stubbornly, refusing to lose.
Battling back from
and
adversity.
forth. Yeah, it's been a very interesting match to watch.
All the characteristics that we require for a really great match here at Accu-Stats and be on the center table.
Checking the rack now, making sure that all balls are frozen, giving him his best opportunity to pocket a ball on the break. And with his powerful break, I wouldn't be surprised to see him do just that. Wow, he really hit him well. I don't know.
He got a little hop. He didn't hit it with a flat ball. And when you see that cue ball bouncing, that means it's driven the 1 ball down into the slate rather than adding a lot of energy. You notice the rack, the bulk of the ball stayed on this end of the table. They really didn't get that super energy. It sounded good and looked good, but...
he hit him squarely, but like you said, he hit the upper part of the cue ball with the tip of his stick, driving the cue ball into the bed of the table, resulting in the ball jumping up after contacting the 1 and losing power.
Once again, the good news is the 2 ball is extremely difficult to do much with. I think Mika might be playing a safety here, yep. Tuck the cue ball down underneath the 9.
Very nicely executed.
Yep. A shrewd decision there. And that may be the game-winning shot.
I tell you, he's really made it difficult for Nevel here.
Looks like he's going to masse around the 5, between the 5 and 9.
Very nicely struck ball.
And he absolutely made the most of that opportunity.
He certainly did. He really got the maximum out of that effort.
Mika still has the upper hand in the rack, and he's got to be a little careful here. This is one of those a little bit testy. If you try to be too aggressive, you can tie yourself up and kind of return the upper hand to Larry. He doesn't want to do that just yet here in this 9-9 match. Examining the 2 ball. If he felt confident that the cue ball would get near the 2, he could go ahead and play offense. But there's a couple balls that get in the way, and it's kind of a funny angle to get down there. You tickle around the 4 ball.
Yeah, he really doesn't have much.
A lot of opportunity.
Much offer to him in regard to the offense here.
The bulk of the opportunity is to make a mistake if you play offense.
Yes. So therefore, I don't know if he would use.
What kind of a shot do you see here? Not much, huh?
There's not much available. The safety's not there. The offensive shot's not there.
What if he was to play? What if he was to play a bank shot on the 1 ball into the 7 and use a little spin and try to get the cue ball down here in this junk?
Well, I don't know if he has the angle to do that. I think he has to cut the 1 too much in order to reposition the cue ball down at the other end of the table. And in doing that, I don't think he'll be able to hit the 7 with the 1. I think he's going to have to cut the 1 more than that.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Now that I look at it, it's not available.
So he's probably in a predicament here. He doesn't have anything offensive, and he doesn't have really anything defensively. He's really confronted with quite a dilemma here. He doesn't have much at all. So whatever he chooses to do, he has to go ahead and just. If he chooses to play safe, he should just go ahead and play cue ball. And if he chooses to bank the 1, and that's exactly what he did. And look where he's ended up. Is it possible that he found that 1 in a million spot down this end of the table to shoot in between the 5 and the 3?
He was rewarded for being aggressive there, and pool by its nature is an aggressive game. But also, if he clutters into those balls and doesn't pick up a shot on the 2, it's sort of unfortunate from that angle.
And I think that's a justice, matter of fact, the way you put it. He was rewarded for his for his effort there, and deservingly so, because he realized that he really didn't have much offer to him, so therefore he put all his emphasis in pocketing the one ball, the bank, and repositioning the cue ball down the center of the table, and hopefully coming up with a shot on the 2.
Now that 8 ball is a problem here. It looks like he may have to collide the cue ball into the 8, yeah. Wasn't as much of a problem as it appeared from our angle, but nonetheless it was an issue because he took a little time there and he studied that as to how he wanted to fall on this.
Now it looks like to me that what he's going to have to do here is pocket the 3. He's going to have to try to, if we can get the telestrator working here. He's going to try to pocket 3, going one cushion up like this here. I was going to say, for the 4.
Now this is just a straight draw shot that will come to his left side.
Now he has to be careful of that corner pocket, and in doing so, he may come up short. Now watch, interesting shot here. He has to be careful of that corner pocket as well.
He hit the pocket just a little heavy.
Oh,
he hit the corner pocket down there with his shot. He didn't cut it quite as much as he anticipated. And
usually in that type of a situation, you're very aware or conscious of that corner pocket being there, and it affects your stroke and ability to draw the ball back. That he wasn't guilty of that, but he was guilty of scratching, obviously, in the corner pocket, and that's going to really cost him.
Yeah, you know, in this match, I would say Larry's been the beneficiary of a few more of the breaks that we thought Mika might pick up, or maybe unforced errors, if they could be called that. Larry's been the beneficiary of a few more of those. Now he's falling a little straight on the 7. I can see he's gesturing as if he's not completely happy. He's going to use a big draw with a little bit of spin. And because he was so straight, he has to make a much longer 8 than maybe what he would have ideally wanted. Oh, he hit his pocket a little heavy, and now you look at where he's fallen. Ultra thin cut, left-handed, and this is a crucial rack here. Oh, and he kind of jabbed at that, didn't he, Bill?
He certainly did.
Kind of a quick backswing and a little bit of a jab.
He still left Nevel a tester. Immonen a tester on the 9. It's not a gimme by any means. Match is tied up at 9 games apiece, and starting to feel it. Both players are starting to feel it a little bit out there, it looks like. After he shoots the 9, we'll have time, hopefully, to change the tape, because we're running out of tape. And but if we do that, we'll be right back, obviously. So let's take a look at it. A lot of things are bothering him. And you notice that this brush man right here, I think, has walked in his past several times.
No, something with Larry. They're having a little verbal confrontation over there. I don't know.
No, he was just telling Larry that these people are just annoying him. I wouldn't be surprised to see him not pocket this ball because of all of the stuff that's going on down there.
He might pocket it straight back. No. I think total frustration.
Yeah, he's really unhappy with the spectators, and and I don't blame him.
He's going to have to bank it.
Okay, we're going to change the tape. We'll be back. 10-9, Nevel. Okay, we're back, and it is 10-9 in favor of Nevel. This will be the last opportunity in this match Nevel will have in breaking the balls. And the 9 almost went in the side. He pocketed 4 balls on the break. 4 balls on the break.
He really amped up on that break and let it all hang out in an effort to make the 9 or make enough balls that he could run out the rack easily and get a quick win. He has a kind of a tester here, a tough bank shot, kind of a one-pocket type bank, and I don't know that would be the right shot to play, but I don't know that it'd be wrong. He might get safe out of it. I don't think cross-side is the answer here. I think if he plays anything, it's got to be either safe or... Well, he's playing safe, but he had a good judgment, good speed control.
Excellent
completely handcuffed his man. And Now Mika's at the complete mercy of the pool gods as to the outcome if he's fortunate enough to hit the 2-ball, it's just going to be random chance if he can come out that's favorable.
Well, you know, in retrospect, I go back a rack when Immonen was at the table preparing to shoot the 9, totally distracted by the spectators that were getting up and sitting down in front of his shot. I thought he should have just taken a little more time on that shot and not shot it until he was quite comfortable. Obviously, he didn't do that, and now he finds himself not only trailing in the match 10 games to 9, but it looks like he's really hanging by a thread right here, Mark. One mistake hereafter, and it looks like it's one coming up.
Well, he desperately needs a solid contact here with a little bit of pace, and maybe he can get some separation and be a little fortunate. Or he might even get real fortunate and make the thing. Oh, no. I don't really care for that shot. I understand the angles, but the likelihood of hitting that solidly and getting separation, he was relying on making the ball solely to dictate the outcome of the match, and that was a little bit of a give-up shot, I think.
Well, like Nevel said, he's played a lot of the big-name players, and he's beaten most of them. And he looks like he can add one more to that list.
Nice shot in the corner, hit the middle of the pocket with good speed, so they had a generous pocket offering down there.
And it looks like he's close enough to the 7-ball.
Just want to get to the middle of the table.
To gauge the speed of the shot. Nicely. It's close enough to the 9 now where he'll make it a good 99% of the time. And it's
that's the end of the match, yeah. And Mika is a little bit insolent. He refuses to shake the hand of Larry Nevel.
But why?
I think he thinks that Larry was the culprit on the missed 9-ball. I think he thinks that Larry distracted him. And I'll tell you something. I think Mika might be in there on that. Larry's not that type of guy, and he was sitting pretty far away from the shot. And I think it was one of those cases where he just needed to find somewhere else to blame him on.
I thought that Mika was frustrated and upset with the spectators, and it was Nevel that he was upset with.
Apparently. But
yeah, let's do that, because I'm kind of curious, as Mark is, to find out exactly why Mika wouldn't shake his hand, and I have a couple other questions we'd like to ask Larry.
And maybe Mika as well.
Yeah, but I don't think Mika's in the mood to answer any questions right now, so we'll allow him to gather himself, and we'll have an opportunity to speak with Nevel. Do we have a mic up here? I don't believe we have a mic.
I think it's going to
there
be
it is right here. Okay, I think up is on here. Is this always on here, Pat? Okay, it's on. Okay, you can come. Well, we're going to move you over a little bit more. Give him. Come on in here. You got to keep this close here. Okay, congratulations, Larry. I was talking with you earlier in the day, right before your match began. I asked you how many tournaments you've played in, how many pro tournaments you played in. You said you played on a couple Camo Pro stops. And I asked you if you played any of the upper echelon players, the top name players. You said, yeah, I played Buddy Hall. I played Jose Perica. I've played, who are the other players you played that you consider top players?
I played Francisco Bustamante, Rudolfo Luat. I've played Efren in a couple tournaments. Cliff Joyner. They're all real good players.
And I also asked you how you fared against these players, and you said...
I usually do pretty good.
Yep. And you can add one more to your list with Mika Immonen, definitely a top upper echelon player. And that has certainly been evidenced in his last couple of tournaments he played in, finishing third in the BCA Open 9-ball championships in Las Vegas, and finishing, I believe, third again in the U.S. Open 8-ball championships in Las Vegas as well. In this match, you played well. There were a couple of times when you were, I don't know if you can say frustrated with your break, but you weren't getting the production off the break you wanted to get, and it frustrated you a little bit. But other than that, I thought you played real well.
Yeah, it's hard to make a ball, especially when you're breaking from the box. It's really hard. And then when you play in tournaments where you can break anywhere and you get used to making balls, And you come here and it tends to frustrate you a little bit.
And we commented on that, Mark and I, and I asked him if you were kind of like a little bit spoiled because you were so used to pocketing balls on the break. He said, I don't know if he's spoiled, but he certainly is an offensive player who relies a lot on his break, but he still has a lot of other strong points in his game, as we saw and witnessed out there today. Let me ask you this question in regard to the Accu-Stats camera. Were you a little nervous playing for the Accu-Stats for the first time?
Not really.
No?
No, didn't even notice it.
Well, that's good because you're one of the few that didn't notice it for the first time. Yeah. And there's one other question I'd like to ask you. In game number 19, when there was a confrontation down there on the floor, it looked like Immonen was a little unhappy about something. Do you have any idea why he was unhappy and why he wouldn't shake your hand at the end there?
He was telling me that I was talking too loud. When I'm down there mumbling to myself a little bit.
I see.
And I don't know how he can hear me over everyone else talking. Nobody behind me or next to me can hear me talking. I don't know if just kind of looking for an excuse or.
Well, it seems like he was it seems like to me that he was easily distracted in that particular match because he was distracted earlier in that match as well.
When people walk by and stuff like that.
The waitress walked by one time, and both you and I know, along with Mark, that the waitress has no idea what she's doing, walking in front of a shot. She doesn't know that's going to distract anyone.
Right.
But he didn't see it that way, which was his problem. But nevertheless, you played really a good match, and congratulations on your win. Mark, you have anything to add to this?
Well, in the 9-9 game, when he drew back into the corner pocket, that was a huge turning point in the match.
Oh, yeah.
I noted that he hit the pocket just a little bit heavy in an effort to get plenty of backspin effect, and it just drifted and trickled. And I think maybe the source of his frustration was the compounding of all those distractions and then a couple little slight glitches and mistakes, and then I think that was the reason.
Yeah.
Certainly, I mentioned to Billy that you're not that type of a guy, and I played you a lot of times. You asked me specifically to mention your sponsors, and I completely omitted that from this. So
Yeah.
I'd like to mention them now. Viking Q's, sponsors Larry, as well as the Green Room and the proprietor, Jerry Bryseth, who happens to be my pool instructor. And that's probably everything I have to add to it, Bill.
Okay.
Well, how do you feel about this win right now?
I feel good.
Yeah. Well, you're advancing on the winter side of the tournament. This is the largest field we've ever had in the Open, almost 300 players. First prize is really a nice prize, $50,000. I know you have your eyes set on that, and hopefully you'll be able to attain that goal. Good luck to you for the tournament.
Thank you.
Okay, Larry. Nice watching you play. It's been a pleasure.
Well, Bill, once again, it's been a pleasure working with you here. I really feel honored to even get to come up here at this anniversary, the 25th running of the U.S. Open, our longest running 9-ball tournament.
Yeah, Mark, it's always a pleasure working with you because you bring forth so many interesting points when we do commentary together. You're such a knowledgeable player, and you're playing quite well yourself right now. You're in this event. You won your first match 11-3 against a pretty good player in Richie Richardson. He's a tough guy to beat, but you handle him quite easily, 11-3. And so you have to be feeling pretty good about your game as well.
To put it in Efren's words, I got the lucky.
Okay. On that note, I think we'll close it out. So on behalf of Mark Wilson, this is Bill Incardona saying thanks a lot for supporting Accu-Stats. Give Pat a call, 1-800-828-0397.